Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO at Wexer, the digital fitness specialist who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences per year for our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Liz Clark, President and CEO of IHRSA. I'm excited for this one. Liz, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Paul?
Yeah, good. Trying to live the dream.
Yeah.
Where is home for you, Liz?
I'm in Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. So
nice.
Short of the fact that we've got a lot of smoke from Canada, in our backyard today, but otherwise we're doing great.
There's a story in that. So, coming from Auckland, so we're, feeling very international this call already.
Yes.
Hey, look, I know I think everyone knows you, Liz, but, for the benefit of our listeners, it would be good to understand what your role is at IHRSA, what you do, and maybe a little bit of where you've come from as well.
Sure, you bet, Paul. So listen, I'm the president and CEO of IHRSA. I've been in the seat now almost 2 years. To believe that, I can't. And so I've spent my entire career in association and association management. So I'm actually not from a club. I'm not necessarily from the industry, but my background comes from association management in chemicals. I was at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and then most recently before this, I was at the candy industry. So we went from candy to fitness.
The irony.
I know. Well, I said, both industries kind of rely on each other. So
that's very true. And I guess I always ask this to every guest, but did fitness find you, or did you find fitness? What's the background, and how did you come to being president and CEO of IHRSA?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I could take that question in a lot of ways. Like, did I find fitness on my personal fitness journey, right?
Yeah,
did I start exercising as a young kid? Yes, I did. But it was a very intentional, actually, coming to IHRSA approach by the board. So what had happened is, we as an industry were left behind through COVID. We weren't recognized as part of the health continuum. We weren't considered essential. And so that our board took a hard look at that and said, well, what is it that IHRSA is doing organizationally that led us to being left behind? And it was really a lack of focus on advocacy. And so they went in a direction to find somebody that had expertise in advocacy and association management. And so it was a deliberate search that the board sent out to do to find me. And it wasn't an easy process. I interviewed, there were 8 rounds of interviews, probably over 3 or 4 months, but I think we both landed in a good spot. And I think we figured out we're pretty made for each other, frankly, I think. So,
I think your impact has been amazing, Liz. So, but we'll get to that. So, how much? I guess how much your role in the Confectionery Association has impacted this? I imagine significantly. Is it a lot of the same, but you're talking about different impacts, or
not really? The issue subsets are wildly different. Being in the food industry, I was dealing with things like labeling and food safety and allergens and stuff that really has nothing to do with our industry.
But way more fun.
But the process and the people are not different, right? So knowing what are the right levers to pull. Who are, the folks in embassies that we need to know? Who are the decision makers we need to know? What's the process? How does the sausage get made? Who's in the White House? All that sort of stuff does translate. And I think that was one of the things that was probably attractive to me as a candidate, having spent 20 years plus of my career in Washington, D.C. I've built a lot of that over time. So sort of arriving here as we already have a pretty strong network.
And Liz, it's, for me as an entrepreneur, and everything for me as I've moved from my career is I'll just solve it myself. Like, how do you like the patience that you have to have for the role? Like, how do you do it? I guess is the big broad question.
Yeah. Is wine the wrong answer? No, listen, I've got a great team of support on the IHRSA staff, and we're building that back. So I've inherited a great team. I've made some changes, and then I've also been starting to build my team, which is fantastic. And I have a great team of supporters on our board. And, our board has evolved over time and is getting bigger and stronger and more diverse, and really, really feeling the sort of shift of where the industry has gone. And so To have the chairman that I have, Chris Crater, is a fantastic chairman. Chris and I probably talk once a day. And so he's a great role model and leader and advisor to me in my capacity. And then I've got just a lot of tremendous supporters that are not on the board that are in the industry that just, that want to help. They want to see this industry grow and they want it to survive and have offered, so I got all kinds of support systems out there that I'm not afraid to lean on.
Well, and look, well done. I feel like from an industry's perspective, you've rallied everyone extremely well. Everyone is wanting, IHRSA to succeed in the missions, right? So it's I think that says a lot for you. You got the industry behind you, Liz. So that's no easy feat too. So well done. So then let's shift gears. I guess you came in during COVID, like, and as you mentioned, like what. Is there still impact now? Like, are we from your level? Are you still dealing with this?
Yeah, we are. So, I was brought in truly at the lowest of the low. And there was only room to grow. We were either going to die or we were going to grow. There was nowhere else to go. And so through that, it was a rough first probably 15, 16 months. But slowly clubs were coming back to IHRSA's membership that had left. So organizationally, that was an issue. And then we had a canceled trade show that had a massive financial impact on our bottom line. And we were building back millions of dollars from that canceled trade show. So we made the decision to have 3 shows in 18 months, and that proved to be good organizationally. So I think the industry is coming back faster than the organization because we were lagging behind organizationally to make the changes that we needed to make. They've been made and we're coming back, but we're on the road to recovery. At one point, we were on a cliff and so now we have a path through the trees and we can see the path.
Yes. And in a way, like I think it's pretty common knowledge for any leader. Sometimes a crisis is the best way to really kind of get everything aligned, right? Was there a lot of learnings for yourself as a leader in that time in terms of getting the right team on board to get to where you are now, really?
Yeah, listen, I think the industry did a lot of really interesting things during COVID and because of the crisis. So here in the US, we formed state alliances in probably half the states. That hired lobbyists and that got on the ground, and then we're talking to their governors, doing all the right things. And and so that was really interesting. And then even from a policy perspective, got in the conversation about about getting relief for our industry. We were just unfortunately in the conversation too late. So that's what we've learned, and that's where we've said that yes, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, but we all learned a hard lesson there. And so I appreciate you saying that. Folks have been rallying around me and feeling it. But I think that was the other major lesson learned is that we need to be doing this together. So we had a lot of people in this industry kind of doing their own thing. And it's like, no, we have to be doing this together, be stronger voice together.
Yeah, and I think that's where the industry is best when we're together. Again, I think most of us probably come from team sports, not to rule out those individual people, but there's a lot of backgrounds in that, right? So when we come together, we're a powerful ship and a powerful force. So I like it. So like in terms of policies, for you, what are the most significant policy changes, I guess that need to happen for the growth and development of our industry?
Well, I don't. It's a policy change, but it's also a recognition. I think that needs to be correlated that we are preventative healthcare, and I think that we know that in this industry. So we get it. But you go one circle beyond our industry, and we are not unfortunately seen that way yet. I think had that been the case, and had we gotten to that goal, there would be a much different conversation in COVID on who would have been able to be open and functioning. So. The biggest North Star is really to be as seen as preventative healthcare. But beyond that, there are some policy changes that we can do with that. So one thing is the PHIT Act, which would allow, at least here in the US, people to use their HSA and FSA dollars, their healthcare dollars, to be toward a gym membership or toward a summer camp. And so that's a really great piece of legislation. We got introduced a couple months ago. It's really building legs. And I know we've had that legislation in the past, but we haven't had the team that we've had now in place. We didn't have any presence in Washington when we were trying to push that before. So between even myself and my first 2 hires in Washington, we have 50 years of experience and relationships, in this town. And that's just between 3 people. And we're growing in Washington by leaps and bounds. So that's a really great piece. And then, we have another, speaking of crisis, if you will, opportunity to be talking about military readiness. And again, in the US, we don't have 77% of people that are of age to be able to apply for military service can't meet the basic physical fitness test. So we have a major scary crisis as far as, an unfit and underfunded and underrepresented military here in the US. So we're having conversations with the right people there and so on and so forth. And then, we at every state level, there's issues on auto renewal, music licensing. I mean, it goes
talk to me about music licensing. It kind of makes me start sweating a little.
Yeah, and now TV licensing. I mean, yep.
And so who? Because I just actually came back from Singapore, and we actually spoke with the Singaporean government in terms of trying to qualify. And their big thing was how do we qualify that it actually impacts? Which I guess great statement, but we actually have the proof in there, but we kind of need them to allow us to do it at a large scale rather than our few examples that we have. Like who is leading this, into I guess worldwide, like not just from a US perspective? Is there any countries that actually are leading the fact that we are a health preventative solution rather than or not?
I mean, I think that people are trying and, and they're making progress. I don't really know that there's been any sort of stamp of approval. I will say we've worked really hard with the World Health Organization and we've been recognized as a sector and that's important. Whereas we were actually previously considered sport and leisure. And now we are moving away from that, which I think is a good thing as far as sort of our long-term health and where we can go there. So it's happening around the world. We as the international organization we have the GHFA, the Global Health and Fitness Association, where we are working with those folks to have these conversations and to share best practices as well. So I know Romania just was able to get something passed to allow more government funding for gym memberships. So we're like, okay, what can we learn from Romania?
I think we've got to all just take the best cases. Because what is this? I hear so much every conference that the silver bullet is we need more data to prove that we do impact. Is that the truth? Is that what you believe? Because every time I see change at huge policy levels, there's data, there's proof, but it's narrative building. It's how we relate to other industries and impact. What's your thoughts? Just
Paul, it's a great question because I have seen an abundance of data. We need data, but we might have too much data, quite honestly, depending if you look across what's being produced by us and other people around the world, it's a lot. And so what I almost think we need to be doing is aggregating the data and telling the data story a little bit differently and making it more palatable. I think what we're looking at our team, right? Yeah, but I mean, well, we look at our reports, and I've said, okay, does somebody really want a 300-page report? Maybe they do, but maybe we could tell that same story in 12 pages, and then people would actually read it. So so then it's like, where do you focus the data? Do you focus the data on the economy and jobs and employment? Do you focus it on the overall health and wellness of the world? Do you focus on mental health? There's so many different directions that you can go with it as well.
Well, I agree, and I'm so glad you said that because I guess from a Wexer point of view, doing 25 million fitness experiences, multiple million people use their heart rate. We understand adherence to that. We can understand swipe data. We can understand, even inputting their weight loss goals and what they're achieving. So there's so much, and I'm kind of going, well, hang on, is it the data that's actually holding us back here? Because I just feel like so many, and we're one in the whole ecosystem. So there's so many data points that we can all pull together. So okay, very, very happy you said that, Liz. So then I guess with that then is what do you feel, maybe as a leader personally as well, but in terms of from a policy point of view, what do you feel like your major successes have been so far?
Well, we had a big one 2 months ago in the state of Maryland here, which is a small little state, but as everything goes in the US, if one state passes something, they all now have the roadmap and it happens quickly across other states. But what had happened is in the middle of the night, liability waivers were eliminated for gym memberships. And, and that's really, as as from a country that loves suing people, those are really important to be protected as business owners and operators. And it was targeted specifically at gyms and fitness centers. So this had passed the House, it had passed the Senate, and it was on the way to the governor. And we were able to stop it. We were able to create a hearing, testify. We got all of our members and also non-members involved as well, because we thought it's more important to have everybody at the table. It doesn't matter to me whether they're writing us a check or not, because we need them as part of the story. So we leaned on folks from the studio community, from the YMCA community, those stuff like so. So that was a great win, and we learned a lot. Yeah, thank you. And we're looking at, there's threats like that pop up every day in every state here. So
great. And so that's the best way to do it. Like, again, I'm more learning than interviewing you. Is you create one state to actually have success, then you can create a ripple effect, because it's just it's kind of the whole everyone, if someone else has done it, they've already on the bleeding edge. So therefore, if it's worked okay, it's going to be okay for me.
Yeah, listen, I think that I wouldn't necessarily take that approach, because the opposite can happen too, something really bad, and then it goes. But and it's a lot of work, and 50 states. So I actually prefer the process of having a federal exemption and having a federal law that applies to everybody, because now you're getting into 50 different interpretations in different states, different timelines, different everything. So we're going through that right now, actually, even with the FTC has launched a click to cancel campaign. So to allow folks to get out of gym memberships with one click. And it's not that simple. But those threats have been going on in various states. So we were already looking at about 10 states that had their own legislation on that. Those states have put that legislation on hold to wait and see where this goes federally. Now, so we're putting a lot of eggs in our basket on trying to have this work out favorably to us at the federal level. And really at this point, it's about clarifying what they want, because even in many instances, it's just not that simple to just click on something, and so what does that mean? What is a subscription versus a membership? There's a lot of language in there that we still don't have the answers to, that we just submitted comments on that, and hopefully get some feedback and some more direction.
See, I told you that, as I said at the top, I don't know how you do it with your patience must be huge. That's that wine, whatever wine you're drinking, you might need to share the recommendations.
I don't discriminate.
Just whatever, as long as it's alcohol. Okay, I hear you. And then I guess what is your hopes and futures for the political change to fostering and making sure we're all living a healthier lifestyle?
Well, from a political perspective, the thing I'm probably most excited about is honestly getting this industry on the map with lawmakers. So not only were we, late to the game on this, like one of the things that I often say is that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that is exactly what happened to us. And so because we weren't even seen necessarily as a unified industry. So you think about industries out there that are well known, right? You got the chemical industry, the airline industry, the candy industry. Like nobody even knew there was a fitness industry. And so we're really getting ourselves on the map there, getting in front of lawmakers. That's why I brought everybody to Washington, D.C. for a fly-in where we all flew in May and met with legislators and to have that conversation and to say, this is what we're doing. This is how we're helping. This is why you need to support us. And why, so that's my overall goal, is to just make sure this industry is recognized. And so we were just this week at the White House, part of the conference of nutrition and wellness. And so it's being part of those conversations and being invited to those conversations and be seen as a reputable reference is important. It's happening, and there's just leaps and bounds more where that can go.
Like, because nutrition has its own industry, right? It has to, but more from a food safety point of view than what
they're very spread out as well. Some are food safety, some are childhood nutrition. I mean, like nutrition can mean sort of a lot of things. And actually I'm on the board of the Physical Activity Alliance, and we had a board meeting this morning. And, one of the things we talk about, not only there, but with as an industry, is that exercise is medicine, right? And it's this campaign that we're getting off the ground and that we're working on. But similarly, as exercise is medicine, there's a similar campaign that food is medicine. So it's right. So it's how do we marry those things up to make sure that we're not competing in that airspace? Yeah.
Because clearly, if we come together, we can amplify the better message, right? And like any talk to any trainer on the floor, it's you can work out all you want, but if you can't make good behavior change if you don't get the right nutrition, so we need each other. So taking the one person example, then amplifying it sort of from an industry point of view. Okay. So that is happening at the moment.
And I think it's happening obviously organically with our members, right? Like you said, like our members have all figured out that we can't be just a one service offering, and so maybe some are and some are succeeding that way, but I think a majority are getting into that space, more supplements, more nutrition, more coaching. And that's what we're seeing too from a lot of businesses too, that it's also about healthy living. So it's not only about like the 1 hour, the 1 hour a day that you're in the gym is the easy hour. It's what are you doing with the other 23? How are you eating? How are you sleeping? How much are you drinking? All these kind of questions. And ultimately getting into the space of healthy working, healthy aging. And we're such an important part of that solution.
Wellness in general, right? I'm loving the movement so much in terms of mental health. That we're actually doing stuff, and right now we've got 15% of our overall views are sitting in what we would call wellness, which is so broad, but like sleep stories and inspiration and mental health advice and how to deal with anxiety. And I just feel like, again, just going back to the one example of a trainer, you end up playing that role by default, right? Because you're trying to change behavior. So without the mental side of things, like nutrition, is kind of nearly as important. So we are trying to amplify our voices by working with these individuals. But
and I think Paul, right, and I think we saw some interesting data come out last year that for the first time ever, people are working out first and foremost to take care of their mental health, second to be improving something with their physique or their body.
Yeah. And that's, to be honest, I think that was like that anyway. I just don't think that the measurement and the stats and the questions probably weren't aligned to that, because you think about even your 50% of your friends probably are working out more for health or just mental health or rest rather than looking amazing and all that type of stuff. So is there a need? Do you think that when we step into a room, and I've really noticed this from my point of view in terms of working with telcos and stuff, is they think it's all about like bodybuilding and body aesthetic and all the rest of it. I'm like, no, that's not us at all. Like, even as a supplier, like, you must sit in rooms and they think like that, or am I got a different paradigm?
No, listen, I think that we've got a lot of work to do, because when we did arrive on the scene, like, if we're being honest, right? I mean, our reputation was that, we're bodybuilders. We, are a steroid crazed, drug using community. And there was some truth to that at one point, so we got to own that. The other thing is that, we've been bad actors, that we've, had shifty contracts and not been transparent with our customers. So we have a lot of building back to do, but a lot of, but obviously far more good actors than bad actors. It's of course always the story though, right? Like, the bad actors get the story.
No.
Yeah. So we're working on, exactly, telling, these good stories and the positive stories, and just finding receptive ears.
Good. Well, and then this is a tech podcast, so we better say something about tech. So, like, and in terms of, let's, the buzzword of the moment is AI, and look, it's going to be completely transformative in terms of how the industry operates. But from your perspective, what do you see, kind of maybe more short to midterm rather than long term, in terms of how AI is going to impact the fitness industry?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I, as somebody, am a total dinosaur when it comes to technology and AI. So I'm probably speaking a little bit, not with authority, but I'll say that, I've had enough conversations with our members that are really figuring out how to lean into it, how to use it to communicate with their members, how to use it to offer new virtual platforms. But the reality, right, is you're never going to replace the experience of stepping foot in a gym and having a personal trainer and having people around you. But I really think that there's an opportunity for AI to recruit new people into the universe. I think that we always talk about, we're the 20%. How do we get to the other 80%? I'm like, well, how do we just get to the next 5%? And, because there's just people that are never going to step foot in a gym. It just is what it is.
True.
I was actually just on a call earlier today with some doctors who are trying to prescribe exercise, but their clients are so morbidly obese that they're intimidated to go into the gym. So these doctors are actually building facilities for that sort of category of folks.
Yes.
So, but is there going to be opportunities to have, a virtual trainer? I mean, they already exist and it's great. And I think it's just bringing more people to the table. And is it going to be around forever? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But right now, I think that folks are figuring out a good way to leverage it.
Yeah. I think it just amplifies everything. That essentially everything just gets more smarter, more personalized. We would be able to help more people, right? To be able to create. And as you said, I think from a physical point of view, you can't beat the physical point of view. So but it's how you support them as for the other 23 hours. So in terms of measuring their sleep and what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. And there's technology that's doing that now, but I just think it's just going to go to light years above to support people in their wellness journey. So
I think and the easier that it's becoming for people too, like you think about even like on an iPhone, like that tracks your steps, like who was doing that 5 years ago? Nobody, so and now people really pay attention to that and it's easy. So I think there's more of that coming. Yep.
Good insight. And then as the first female president and CEO in the association, how do you feel your impacts has been in terms of bringing other female leaders into industry, or inspiring them, I guess? Yeah.
So listen, my hope is that I would inspire males and females, but listen, I think that I have received a lot of tremendous feedback. I think that I think it was honestly a factor in the job search that I was a woman. Nobody said that to me point blank, but I think that was part of the conversation that was had, and it's that I do want to bring new folks to the table. I do want to be an inspiration for women. And we've created a women's leadership group. And I do want to figure out how do we get more women in the industry and vocal in the industry and confident in the industry, but it's about how do we bring them in at whatever level. Maybe they start at the front desk or maybe they're a trainer, but how do they get trained to become managers and ultimately owners and their own boss, right? And so that's the story that we're looking to tell. And that what are the skill sets that are necessary? And, and are they the same for women and men? I don't know. I mentioned confidence. I think confidence is a big game changer. Public speaking is a big game changer. And some of that you can learn and some of it you can't. But I think it's been really well received, even from the old boys club. I think that they've been great. And so I've been happy to work with all.
Oh, well done. And look, really, really appreciate your insights and thank you for coming on the Wix podcast. How do people contact you, Liz?
Yeah, so probably the best way is to just go through our info@IHRSA.org website. People are, we got a team that checks that quite regularly, and obviously we'll direct things where they need to go, and sometimes they need to go to me, and sometimes they need to go somewhere else in the team.
You're a popular person, you know what I mean? You can't respond to everyone.
But I try my best. Yeah, my inbox measures my anxiety. So depending on how many things I have in my inbox, like correlates. So yeah.
Perfect. Look, thank you so much for your insights and thank you for everything you're doing for this industry. We appreciate it.
All right. I'm honored to be here and thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Cheers, Liz.
Okay, bye-bye.